Hello, this online lecture is going to talk through Assessment 4 materiality in terms of the perspectives. What we're asking you to do are a series of sectional perspectives. So one that's taken from a section view and one that's taken from the view of a plan, so a kind of planar perspective. What is a sectional perspective? Really, as you can see from this slide, a sectional perspective shows you the cut view in an orthogonal sense, so you can see the dark black lines, as well as showing you depth as a perspective would. So it's like a combination of an orthogonal drawing, so a plan section or an elevation, with a perspective. What we see are the cut lines of the section or the plan, as well as the depth of space. So it's a really handy communication tool that allows you to see very clearly the two-dimensional aspects of the space, as well as the atmospheric and three-dimensional kind of spatial elements of a space by combining those two elements into one. What do I actually need to show for this assessment task? What we're asking you to do is one long sectional perspective, or if it works for your scheme, two short sectional perspectives, as well as one plan as perspective. You'll decide whether you're showing a long perspective or a long section or a short section based on what is going to showcase your scheme in the best way. So think about the key parts of your proposal and what might be the view that highlights those really effectively. For some schemes, it might be the short section, and for some, it might be that there's this amazing form that kind of scaffolds along the site, and so it's the long section. How do you create one of these sectional perspectives? So a really easy way is to get your model, if you have a look at the first image, and photograph it straight on. That will give you the cut line, so if you take off the facade, as well as the depth of space. You can then overlay that image with trace and start to draw your perspectives. You can also take one of your orthogonal drawings and create a 1 or 2 point perspective from that orthogonal drawing as a basis. An easy third way to create a sectional perspective, if you have a SketchUp model or a three-dimensional model, is to use the cut plane view, which actually allows you to cut through the space, show the orthogonal drawing as well as the depth. You can take your perspectives from head on, so from kind of front on orthogonally, or from side on. And these will show you different aspects of the space. So play around with that and think about, again, which is going to most effectively communicate the best parts of your scheme. What students struggled with a little bit last year is that we saw a lot of the external components of the existing building. The point of this is that we're cutting into the building so that we really start to flesh out and communicate the interior parts of your proposal. We really want to see interior joinery, interior materials, and interior lighting elements. As I've just said, show us materials. So this is really about moving beyond form and starting to highlight materials that play out throughout your scheme. What you can think about is, rather than understanding, okay, this is stainless steel or this is anodized aluminium, we want you to think about what are the colors that you're using? What are the textures that you're using? What are the patterns that you're using? What's the reflectivity of materials? What's the opacity of materials? So you can start to break down the descriptive kind of components of a material rather than understanding realistically what that material may be. How much materiality do I show? Again, based on your feedback, what we've decided to do is reduce this component a little bit. So last year, students had to show every surface of their perspective had to have a material applied to it and lighting. What we've said for this one is you can choose to either show every surface of materiality on either the apartment or the grocer. The apartment will include both the apartment and the urban intervention if you actually see that, and the grocer would just be the grocer. For the space that you do not choose to fully detail, you can give an indication of materials. So this will be like the image here. You can see that there will be some just line drawing and white space, and then some materials shown. The fully rendered perspectives should have a material applied to every surface. So we want to see that you understand three-dimensionally what materials are on your furniture elements, so your fixed joinery, your walls, your floors, your ceilings, your windows, etc., etc. We're asking you to also communicate light, because light has a really significant impact on the way that you read a material. So think about light in terms of natural light coming from the sun and artificial light coming from interior lighting components. You can think about the source of the light. So is it coming from a window, a skylight? Is it coming from a lamp on the floor? The intensity of the light, is it really strong or is it dim and moody? The temperature of the light, so is it a cool light? Is it really warm light? Is it a coloured red and yellow light? And the spread of the light, so is it very narrow like a spotlight or is it a really broad wash? Again, your design idea will kind of guide you through these decisions. Think about the way that light will start to affect materiality. So we can see here on the right, you've got this textured pattern of the bricks that's highlighted by little piercings in the ceiling that start to create this dappled light. And the brick is also enhanced by the dome of natural skylight that starts to cut across it. We also want to see people and objects. So think about, as you guys did very well in the last assessment, who is using the space? Is it Ushio and Noriko? Are they customers of the grocer? And what objects are in the space, particularly in the grocer? What are the products? Where do they happen? Where do they play out in the space? In the apartment, what about Ushio and Noriko's objects? Where do they go? Where do the kitchen spatulas get hung? Where are the plates and the dishes? Where are all of their crazy books and teapots? Put those into your perspectives. Again, some more examples of this. And just remembering to highlight the fact that the key communication kind of aspect should be the space and the materials. The objects will help to tell the story, but we don't want the objects to dominate the perspective images.